Here's a topic, and I first want to start with you guys. How do you use Haason Reddick and Nolan Smith at the same time? How do you put these two guys and how do you utilize them? Because I think these two guys are going to be your most impactful players this coming season. I think even more so, Nolan Smith, if put in the right position with Reddick on the other side, could potentially be the best rush end duos in the NFL. If the Eagles do this right, what's the plan on how to use both of these guys? How do you use Reddick and Nolan Smith? This is the challenge I think that Sean Desai has on how to put these guys in a position to succeed. How would you use them? Do you want them on the same field at the same time? Yes. The more I have to game plan, and the more I have to strategize, the more people I have to care about, the more I think you're going to get more out of that Nolan Smith pick. Don't be shocked. And by the way, you know what I love about him? I told you this the other day, listening to him at the press conference. He's an impressive kid. I want to get Nolan Smith on the field. That's right, little Peter. 2 missiles. Can you imagine? So you come to the line of scrimmage and you're Dak Prescott. Okay? You're Dak. First thing you're looking at is your impact guys. Jalen Carter, Fletcher, and your 2 missiles. Let's just dub them the 2 missiles. And you got 2 corners back there that are an elite duo. Whatever you think of Darius Slay, you got to think of those 2 guys together. Bradbury and Slay. You got to think of those guys together. So look at the pairs that you have. You arguably have the best duo corners in the NFL. You've got 2 missiles that potentially could be impactful game changers, and your tackles in the middle. How do you use them? What's the best formula? Is it putting them on the field at the same time? Do you move them around a lot? I do. Can I tell you that I think this is one of the reasons that Matt Patricia has been hired, is to figure this out. What was Matt Patricia known for when he was in New England besides the pencil in the ear? You know what he was known for? Multiple disguise defenses and players moving around all over the place. Remember Bruschi and Vrabel and all those type of players were interchangeable pieces. They weren't the best and most elite guys they had in the league. But you know what they had? You could put them in a 34. You could put them in a 43. You can move them around. You could rush from inside. You can rush from outside. Shit, they did a lot of stuff with Hightower. They did a ton of shit with that guy. I think what you do, I think you move Nolan Smith and Haason Reddick around all game long. Make that quarterback have to think where he is. You become the offensive side of the ball with a guy like Nolan Smith. You could, in theory, if this guy is who everyone thinks he is. You see, I'm going to give you another comparison when it comes to Nolan Smith. I think you guys will understand this. You guys remember Kevin Green? God rest his soul. Do you remember Kevin Green? Love Kevin Green. One of my dearest friends. You guys remember Kevin Green? Pass rusher, Steelers, Rams. I think Carolina too. They didn't know what to do with him. He was what they used to call back in the day a tweener. He's kind of between a linebacker and he's between a defensive end. You just didn't know what to do with him. That's kind of where Nolan Smith is. Are you going to really line that guy up in a 43 end position, putting his hand in the dirt? No. You're not going to do that. So you move him around. And like I said yesterday to you, I think the best situation for both Haason Reddick and for Nolan Smith is to rush out of a 43. That's where you're going to get maximum pressure is out of the 43. And what I say, and the reason I say, is because you have Graham, who knows the game, and you have Sweat, who knows how to set the edge. Those guys are going to be great professionals at setting your edge. And then with Haason Reddick and Nolan Smith, you got two human missiles. And when you're an offensive coordinator, you've got to account for them. That means this. Do I leave it back in? Do I leave my tight end in? You got one less pass catcher in the offensive play because of having dual missiles. That's how I use them. And that's how I would use Nolan Smith and Haason. For me, do we agree? The Eagles are going to be a better football team by having both those guys on the field together. Steve-O says, put Reddick on the weak side, Smith on the strong side so he can cover. Correct, Steve-O. That's how I would do it too. 4-3-9, I'm taking advantage of that, like we said yesterday. But you know what I'm doing? I'm sliding these guys all up and down the line of scrimmage. Now, get this. That means your tackles in your front four have to show up this year. And they have to be impactful. Maybe not so much in sacks, but they got to be impactful in stopping the run. Okay? Philadelphia Eagles, excuse me. Hey, Sills, do you think UDAFA Eli Ricks will make the 53-man roster? Maybe practice squad, dude. Okay? Hey, look, man, there's going to be a lot of UDFAs that are going to – the league – do you know half the league is undrafted? Half the league is undrafted. So those guys are important to have on your football team. I agree, Sills, dual missiles. I want both guys on the field. If I'm sure, let me throw this at you. I thought John McMullen said something very interesting yesterday. And why haven't they announced Sean Desai as the new D coordinator? How come they haven't announced that officially? He hasn't been officially announced as the DC. Hey, Tone, will you do me a favor? Or anybody, look on the Eagle website and see how they have listed Sean Desai on the official Eagle website. I'm curious how they have him listed. If he is listed as the defensive coordinator, or if there's going to be a massive and a heavy influence by Matt Patricia now that he's been brought in. Patricia might be the D coordinator. Nothing's official yet. I'm wondering if the organization is looking at this now and maybe going like this. Patricia's going to have more of an influence. Sean Desai is listed as D coordinator. Interesting. He hasn't been announced officially or introduced to the media or had any kind of press conference. Anything. Why? Find that odd? I do. Most of the time when you make a hire, you want to get that out. Get this, Patricia's not on the website at all, and he's been officially hired. What is that? So Matt Patricia's been hired, but not on the Eagle website. Sean Desai is the defensive coordinator, but hasn't been introduced yet. Okay. They have a way of doing business. It's just odd. It's just odd. So Matt Patricia has been hired as a coach, but he's not on the Eagle website. Okay? I'm not sure I've ever seen that. Dual missiles. I love it. It was supposed to be Fangio, but the tampering effed it up. Desai was a gap fill. Then they got Patricia. How many people think Matt Patricia is going to be the real D coordinator of this thing? And the Eagles went out and got themselves. Hey, by the way, Matt Patricia was a train wreck as a head coach. But Matt Patricia, as a D coordinator, I'm really good with that. Do you think the Eagles are deciding whether or not Matt Patricia is going to have more say in what the scheme's going to look like? Do you think they're going to have co-D coordinators? I think Matt Patricia is going to have more say in this thing. Tyler goes, please no. Tyler doesn't want a guy with 3 Super Bowl rings and had multiple looks on defense in New England. There was no Tom Brady in New England on defense. Tyler doesn't want a guy with 3 Super Bowl rings, 2 of them as a D coordinator. He'd rather have a Sean Desai over a guy with 2 rings. Interesting. It's a way to look at things. As a matter of fact, let me take a look at that with Matt Patricia just to be sure on that. Matt Patricia, because I want to make sure because Tyler might be onto something here. Now his title is senior assistant. Huh. So he was the linebacker coach in 2004. He was the linebacker coach again in 2006 to 10. Safeties coach in 2011. Senior advisor to the Patriots in 2021. Coach in 22. Now he's being listed as a senior defensive assistant with the Philadelphia Eagles. And yet it's not on the website, the official Eagle website. And he's a 3-time Super Bowl champion D coordinator. Tyler doesn't want that. He wants Sean Desai. Not that I think Sean Desai is not coming in with a lot of great accolades and reputation. He is. A lot of people like him. Pete Carroll says a lot about him. Sorry, Tyler, I want the guy with more experience in Super Bowl rings. Let me ask you this, Tyler, and anyone. Do you think if Matt Patricia was the D coordinator in the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs, you think that might have mattered in the second half? Having played against Andy Reid and schemed against Andy Reid in AFC championship games, you think that could have mattered? Or in Super Bowls? Remember something. He was on the defensive staff when they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You think that might have helped? Don't you see it? Matt Patricia is basically hired to beat Mahomes. He's been hired to beat Mahomes, Allen, Burrow. Why? Because he faced them. And he's not on the Eagle website, but he's the senior executive or senior assistant, defensive assistant to Nick Sirianni. So wait a minute. Who has more say? The senior executive, the senior assistant to Nick, or the D coordinator? Who's got more say? Interesting, man. Interesting dynamic they got going there. Holy cow. A little bit different here. We're going to look at the divisions here in a second. We got another topic we're going to hit on. I think Matt Patricia has been brought in for multiple looks and moving Nolan Smith and moving Haason Reddick around. I think it is a huge upgrade by having Matt Patricia as your D coordinator. Or here, let's be politically correct. Your senior assistant, whatever that means. Yeah, Please hit the like button. Thank you, guys. KC, one to handle the 43 and the other to handle the 34. Then you really don't have a D coordinator. You have two of them. Okay. Can we stop the run? Jeff, we're going to get to that here in a minute. Hey, Peter, hiring Matt Patricia as a head coach? No, thank you. Offensive assistant? Clearly, no, thank you. Hiring as a D senior coach? Bring him on. I'd love to hear his thoughts. I'd love to hear the thoughts on what you see with our personnel and how you would use them. I think this is a great hire. And now that I found out he's not even on the Eagle website, I don't think the Eagles know what to do with him. Is he a coordinator? Senior executive? Senior assistant? What's Matt Patricia's role in this? You notice how vague it is? The Eagles are making it vague on what his role is. They're not even introducing the D coordinator. Most of these fans don't like Patricia because of one man. I don't give a shit if Darius Slay likes him or not. Marshall, I don't give a shit if Slay likes him. Matt Patricia will be here longer than Darius Slay will. Darius Slay's on a one-year deal. I don't care if he likes him. Just play. This is not a kindergarten. This is professional football. If I've got to worry about your pouting and moping and crying, you're in the wrong locker room. Give a shit about shit like that. This is professional football, where the eye in the sky doesn't lie, where you're only as good as your last show, where you're only as good as your last game. You can't hide under your desk in the NFL. So no one gives a shit. If you start crying, bro, I don't care if guys cry. But I do care if you let that affect your performance. Moaning and crying, why would you diminish your abilities? Because someone else is stupid. You wouldn't, would you? Got to rise above that shit. Most people in the world are C students. If you come from that presence and that premise, you'll understand how to get through life better. Most people are C students, dude. The great ones turn C students into B students, then B students into A students. That's the key of having a great organization. And I think the Eagles do that. Slay doesn't suck. And by the way, if he wants to have that attitude, Cobra, if he wants to have that attitude, as long as he's playing lockdown defense in the secondary, I don't care. Manage and coach that. You know, coaching comes more with just X's and O's. You got to kind of be a psychiatrist a little bit. Mike, thank you. You got to be a psychiatrist. Well, Darius Slay, did you see I don't care. Did you see? I don't care. Hey, did you see he gave up that plus 25-yard touchdown pass? Now I give a shit. And if you're going to start crying, I'll replace your ass in a minute. You start bitching and moaning. That's why when AB was moaning and bitching, at least he was catching 120 catches a year. Now he's bitching and moaning. You sit there and you go, I don't want anything to do with that dude. I don't want anything to do with that guy. So you hear people go, hey, well, Matt Patricia and Darius Slay did. Who gives a shit? What's that got to do with winning? And by the way, you don't really believe the Eagles cleared it with Darius Slay that they were hiring Matt Patricia. They probably told him, hey, you guys are going to have to learn how to work together. We're bringing Matt in here. Matt's going to help our defensive coordinator, and we're leaning on him to help us put this formula together and going out with these new faces in this young football team, especially on that defensive side of the ball. So we're all going to work together. I think it was positioned like that, not like this. Hey, do you have a problem with Matt Patricia coming over? We're thinking to hire him. If you don't want him to hire, he's not coming. You don't really believe that, do you? You don't really believe they go to the locker room and start asking people about whether or not they should hire this guy or that guy. I think they get opinions. Okay? That's right. This is about team. It's not about one man. The Eagles, man, I mean, they don't from what I'm getting, they don't operate like that. I think they go to players like Jalen, and I think they do ask opinions. I totally do. But I don't think they make their decisions off that. I think they take as much intel as they can. I've said this to you about Howie. Since he came out of the broom closet, I think that dude's a better general manager. Why? Because he listens. Because he